Your friends don't like you. They like what you provide. And the moment you stop being useful, you'll find out who was real. Such friendship, we've romanticized it, turned it into something sacred, something pure, something that exists outside the rules of transaction and exchange. We tell ourselves that real friends love you for who you are, not what you do for them. Lovely idea, mostly false. Most of your friendships are transactional. You provide something, they provide something. It's an exchange. And the moment the exchange stops being beneficial to them, they're gone. Not because they're terrible people, but because that's what transactional relationships do. They end when the transaction ends. And you know this. Deep down, you know it. You know which friends only call when they need something. You know which ones disappear when you stop organizing everything. You know which ones only want you around when you're fun or useful or connected or generous. You know. You just don't want to admit it, because admitting it means admitting you've surrounded yourself with people who don't actually care about you, and that's lonely. So you pretend. You call it friendship. You perform closeness, and you ignore the fact that it's conditional. But everything's conditional, isn't it? That's the bit we don't talk about. We want to believe love and friendship exist in some pure space beyond obligation and expectation, but they don't. Everything is exchange. Everything is transaction. Some transactions are just more honest than others. Your work friends like you because you make the job bearable. Your gym friends like you because you show up consistently and push them. Your university friends like you because you're part of the nostalgia, part of the story they tell about who they used to be. Your couple friends like you because you're also a couple, and that's convenient for dinner parties. Remove the context and watch what happens. Leave the job. Stop going to the gym. Grow beyond the university years. Break up with your partner. See who stays. Not many, and that tells you everything. One philosopher said we should choose our friends carefully because we become like them, but he missed the bit where most people don't choose their friends. They inherit them from school, from work, from proximity, from circumstance, and they keep them out of habit, not intention. You're friends with people because you've always been friends with them, because ending the friendship feels mean, because you'd have to explain why, because you'd rather keep the performance going than admit it stopped being real years ago. So you stay, you keep texting, keep liking their posts, keep showing up to things you don't want to attend, keep pretending you're closer than you are, because the alternative is admitting you're lonelier than you thought, and that's uncomfortable. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You're already lonely. You're lonely in a room full of friends who don't actually know you. You're lonely surrounded by people you can't be real with. You're lonely maintaining relationships that require you to perform instead of just exist. That's worse than being alone. At least alone is honest. Because here's what transactional friendship looks like. They call when they need advice, but they're unavailable when you need support. They want you at their events, but they're always busy when you invite them to yours. They take your emotional labor for granted, but they're exhausted when you need them to show up. They remember your usefulness, but forget your birthday. They know what you can do for them, but they don't know what keeps you awake at 3 in the morning. They like the version of you that serves them, but they're uncomfortable with the version that needs something back. And you let them, because you're afraid of being difficult, afraid of being needy, afraid of being the friend who asks for too much. So you give and give and give and pretend you don't notice it's not coming back. But you notice. You notice every time they cancel plans, every time they forget to ask how you are, every time they talk about themselves for an hour and then have to go the moment you start sharing. You notice. You just tell yourself it's fine. That's just how they are. That friendship doesn't have to be equal. Except it does. Not transactionally equal, like you're keeping score, but energetically equal, mutually invested, reciprocal. And if you're the only one making effort, you're not in a friendship. You're in a one-sided performance of friendship, and that's exhausting. Another wise soul wrote that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships, not the quantity. the quality. And most of your friendships aren't quality, they're quantity. Bodies filling space, names in your phone, people you call friends because you've known them forever, not because they actually add value to your life. And you know this. You know which friends drain you, which ones you see out of obligation, not desire, which ones make you feel worse about yourself after spending time with them, which ones you perform for instead of relaxing with. You know, but you don't do anything about it, because ending a friendship feels cruel, like you're rejecting them, like you're saying they're not good enough, like you're being judgmental or harsh or unforgiving. But keeping a friendship that doesn't serve either of you is crueler. It's dishonest. You're both pretending, both performing, both staying out of guilt or habit or fear of being alone, and neither of you is getting what you actually need, which is real connection with someone who genuinely gives a damn. So here's the test. Stop providing, stop being useful, stop organizing plans, stop offering advice, stop being available, stop being the glue holding it together, and see who reaches out. See who notices you've pulled back, see who asks if you're okay, see who makes effort without you prompting it, see who shows up when there's nothing in it for them. That's your real friend count, and it's smaller than you think, but most people will just fade away, won't even notice you're gone, because they were never paying that much attention to begin with. You were convenient, you were useful, you were there, but you weren't essential. And that stings, because you thought you mattered more. You thought you were closer, you thought the years counted for something, you thought loyalty was reciprocal. It isn't, not automatically. Loyalty is chosen, every day, and most people aren't choosing you. They're just accepting what you give whilst you're giving. So what do? You get honest, brutally honest. You look at your friendships and you ask the hard question. If I stopped making effort, would this person notice? Would they care? Would they reach out? Or would they just let it fade and replace me with someone more convenient? So what do? You get honest, brutally honest. You look at your friendships and you ask the hard question. If I stopped making effort, would this person notice? Would they care? Would they reach out? Or would they just let it fade and replace me with someone more convenient? And if the answer is the latter, you let them go. Not with drama, not with confrontation, just with distance. You stop forcing it. Stop maintaining something that only exists because you're propping it up. You let it die, the natural death it's been trying to die for years. And yes, that means you'll have fewer friends, significantly fewer. Maybe just a handful, maybe just one or two, maybe, for a while, none at all. But better a small circle of people who actually give a damn than a large circle of people performing friendship whilst waiting for you to be useful again. Because here's what happens when you stop maintaining transactional friendships. Space opens up, energy returns. You're no longer exhausted from giving to people who don't give back. You're no longer resentful about being taken for granted. You're no longer performing. And in that space, if you're lucky, real friendship finds you. Not forced, not transactional, not based on what you provide, just based on mutual respect and genuine care, and the simple fact that you make each other's lives better by being in them. That's rare. That's why most people don't have it, because they're too busy maintaining shallow friendships to make room for deep ones. One bloke said it's quality of friends, not quantity, that matters. He was right, but he didn't mention how painful it is to realise most of your friends don't qualify as quality, that they're just warm bodies, that you've been performing closeness with people who'd forget you existed if you stopped reminding them. And you have been reminding them, constantly, texting first, planning everything, making all the effort, being the glue, being the organiser, being the one who cares whether the friendship survives. Stop, just stop, and watch what happens. Most of them will drift away without even noticing. Some will get annoyed that you're not as available as you used to be. A few will feel entitled to your continued effort without offering any of their own. And one or two, if you're very lucky, will reach out and ask what's wrong, will notice your absence, will make effort without you prompting it. Those are your people. The rest were just occupying space. And here's the bit that's hard to accept. You've been performing too. You've been the useful friend, the reliable friend, the friend who always shows up, not because that's who you are, but because you thought that's what friendship required. You thought being needed meant being loved. It doesn't. Being needed means being useful, and useful is replaceable. The moment someone more convenient comes along, they'll replace you, because you were never valued for being you. You were valued for what you did. So stop doing, stop performing, stop being the useful one, and see who stays when you're just you, when you're not organizing or fixing or helping or accommodating, when you're just existing and expecting them to make effort too. That's when you find out who your friends actually are, and it's a smaller group than you hoped. But smaller is better, because small means intentional, small means chosen, small means people who are there because they want to be, not because you've made it convenient for them to stay. Your friends don't like you. Most of them don't. They like what you provide. They like your availability, your generosity, your willingness to accommodate, your usefulness. But you, the actual you, underneath all that performing, they don't know that person because you never let them see that person. You were too busy being what they needed to show them who you actually are. And that's on you. You chose performance over authenticity. You chose being liked over being known. You chose shallow and easy over deep and uncomfortable. And now you're surrounded by people who like the performance but wouldn't recognize the real you if you showed them. So show them. Stop performing. Stop being useful. Stop accommodating. Stop making it easy. And let the transactional friendships die. Let the people who only wanted you for what you provide drift away. It'll hurt. You'll feel rejected. You'll feel lonely. You'll wonder if you made a mistake, if you should have just kept performing, if having shallow friendships is better than having none. It isn't. Shallow friendships are worse than loneliness, because shallow friendships trick you into thinking you're connected when you're actually completely alone. They take up space that could be filled with something real. They drain energy that could be invested in people who actually care. So let them go, not with bitterness, not with resentment, just with clarity. They weren't your people, they were placeholders, and you're done settling for placeholders. Your real friends, the ones worth keeping, they'll show up. They'll notice when you pull back. They'll ask what's wrong. They'll make effort without you forcing it. They'll care about you, not just what you provide. And if no one shows up, then you were alone the whole time anyway. You just didn't know it, and now you do. And that's actually freeing, because now you can stop wasting energy on people who don't deserve it. Now you can make room for the people who will. Your friends don't like you, they like what you provide. And the moment you stop being useful, you'll find out who was real. So here's the test. How many of your friends would notice if you stopped making effort? Comment with a number. Be honest. I'll know if you're lying to yourself. Overthinking Department, where we call transactions transactions. Open 24/7.